Grab your coffee, mama. It's time for coffee, clients, and nap time. I'm Sarah Marie, and this is your guide to building a business that works for you and your family. Here, we'll dive into creating a thriving business that lets you be the hands-on parent you want while designing the life you've always dreamed of. So if you're ready to balance business success with family life and make it all work in a way that feels right for you, then let's dive in. Hey mamas, welcome back to Coffee, Clients and Nap Time. Today for a Naptime Chat, I'm joined by Fiona Campbell, a mum of three, founder of the VA Lead Network, and someone who knows firsthand what it takes to build a business that works around family life. After being made redundant while on maternity leave, Fiona started her own virtual assistant business from home. She then launched the VA Lead Network, a platform that's created hundreds of flexible work opportunities for women, and especially mums, across Australia. Fiona's passionate about helping women find fulfilling, sustainable work without the hustle or guilt, and I'm so excited for you to hear her story and practical advice today. Welcome, Fiona. I am so excited to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me. I am so excited to speak to you.
I am so keen to hear your story. So thinking back to how you started and how you became a mum in business, do you want to talk me through that? What did life look like for you?
Sure. So I actually started, like many women, I was on maternity leave and I got made redundant. So it was my first baby and I was on maternity leave from a career as a C-suite executive assistant. And yeah, it was a shock. My baby was only a couple of months old, but I was told that they were halving the team of VAs. So they're going to get rid of half of the EAs on the team, creating new roles. And I was told that if I wanted to be considered for one of the new roles, I would need to finish my maternity leave early. So that was a shock to be asked that. Didn't seem fair. And I ultimately made the decision. I wasn't ready to put my baby in care, so I decided to let that role go. But me being me, I get excited about new things. And very, very quickly, I just threw myself into being excited about, what trying something new would look like, what the options are. I first decided that this was a sign I should think about changing careers completely. And when I mean completely, I was supporting accountants, and then one of the things I did, I dabbled in real estate in the sales assistant role for a few months, took a drop in pay, just went, I'm going to try something completely new and so take a whole new career path. I registered a sole trader ABN with a crazy plan. While I was on maternity leave, I taught myself how to crochet. And then I decided I was going to be an expert at crochet and design my own patterns and sell those. So all the crazy ideas were on the table, and sure, one of them could have taken off. But, exploring all of these different avenues did make me realize that while not every EA role in my corporate employee career was perfect, it was definitely the type of work that I enjoyed doing most. The strategic support role was where my passion was. And so I realized I needed to do that, but not necessarily the same type of working style as a full-time employee. And that's when I started to look at, becoming a virtual assistant and learning about the world of remote work and being a contractor instead of an employee.
I love that. I feel that's really a typical story for many VAs and mums in business as well. How did that go for you? And then how did that evolve into becoming the VA Lead Network?
Sure. So my virtual assistant business, which I do still run, is called Thought Penny. So I started that off as a solo VA. I started off one morning playing with website builders, something to fill out the time because I was still on maternity leave. So there was a blessing there that I had a bit of freedom. There wasn't a deadline to just do the first thing that came along. I was just having a dabble, and like most things, when I'm having fun, I just throw myself all in, and I have this mini obsession and dive into it while I've got the motivation and the energy. And so I built my website in a day, and part of that process, it's not necessarily what I'd recommend is starting with building a website, but for me, that's how it started. And that journey of creating the content for what a virtual assistant website would look like took me on the path of defining who I was as a business, who I helped, the services I offered, the problems I solved, how was I going to price myself, packages or hourly, or exactly what it is that I would do and wouldn't do, and what my boundaries were, so I could fit that in around my kids. I researched what other VAs were doing. There weren't as many back then. But by the end of that first day, I had built a full website. It was a long day. I was lucky that I was, having long nap times with my first baby at that point. And yeah, at first it was like being an executive assistant, but offering those same things as services. So managing inboxes, schedules, project delivery, team management, just organizing people, teams, and projects. And eventually, the more I did that type of work, I learned more what my passion was in tech services, because when you're working remotely, you're learning new technology. I started working with clients who already had remote teams as well. So I learned a lot along the way just from my first clients, and then realized that I loved streamlining and automating workflows and getting my clients' tech stack, so their software bundles, to talk to each other, to share data, automatically set tasks, send emails, etc. So that's where I knew that the work I wanted to do. So I started to not take on as many EA clients. And while all of that was happening, I was going on maternity leave a couple more times. So I've got 3 kids now and done. And each time I went on maternity leave, I brought in other VA subcontractors to cover my clients. So I didn't let my clients go or have a break in their work. I brought on subcontractors, and when I came back from maternity leave, I didn't let them go. I job shared with some, and others I let them just take over that client completely, and with backup tech support from me. And then I was able to offer additional services like the business automation, etc., to those existing clients, which helped me formulate them as official services to offer new clients. And that's all that we offered them. And it did get to a point, when you're building a team, there's a part of delegating that finding the right person is really freeing. And I realized I could keep doing this, but the rate that new leads had started to find Thought Penny meant that even if I was building in a sustainable way and ensuring quality and, only taking on so many new clients a month, there were so many leads coming through that I had to turn people away, because otherwise I'd be, taking time away from my kids to have extra time to building my team, to finding new VAs, because I'm really, really picky about who's going to represent my brand. So I've got a pretty thorough vetting process for anyone joining my team. And I realized I didn't want an empire. I didn't have that hunger to grow and grow and grow. But I did feel bad because, turning away someone is going to be a great client is hard. But when you put it in the perspective of, if I don't turn them away, then the quality of work for all of our clients could deteriorate. It's about protecting your current clients more than saying yes to everyone that you can help. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And on the other side of that fence as well, we were turning away potential team members. We're constantly getting approached by people wanting to join the Thought Penny team. And it's great. It is great also having a team, because it was actually a member of the Thought Penny team who's still working with me, my right hand, who pointed out that we were sending away great clients, potential clients. We were sending away people with stellar careers that would be a great fit for those clients. And so we decided to connect them. And yeah, that was, the end of 2019 that we had this idea. So it was I think it was in November 2019. And then by the end of December, we had a fully formulated plan for the virtual assistant lead network. So technically it launched in 2020. And And that was before we knew about COVID too. COVID wasn't until March. And then it was a hidden website, a hidden page on the Thought Penny website that was password protected, just one page that we would send VAs to say, sorry, we're not growing the team, but here, and whenever we have someone that we need to turn away, we'll put the details up here. It was the ugliest website page. It was so DIY and atrocious, but it worked. And we did it for 12 months. And suddenly, we had just over 30 members, free members in our network. And the leads were still coming in. And then because they were finding people, we weren't turning anyone away. The word of mouth referrals grew and then continued to come in through Thought Penny. And it started to get its own legs, and it was actually costing me money to run because it was becoming so popular. So, by the end of 2020, of course, COVID helped make working from home cool and hiring a VA cool. And so not just cool, also a necessity for a lot of people. And so at the end of 2020, we decided if we're going to keep this going, we're going to have to turn this into a paid membership. And so 2021 January, we officially launched, and the VA League Network had its own public-facing website. It's got its first social profiles, and we had our founding members, and it grew and grew from there. We've shared 100 job leads for potential clients for the Australian VAs and managers last year, 2024, depending on when you're listening to this recording. And then now we're on track to beat do more than 100 by September this year, 2025. And to date, we've shared over 430 vetted jobs, potential job listings, connected small and medium-sized businesses with top Australian VA talent. And the paid membership now has over 360 subscribers, and we do our best to keep the membership prices really affordable just to cover the overheads. And then, that started off just as a jobs board, but eventually we've grown. We've got tiered memberships now, and we offer training and templates and resources. And, once a month I do tech time with our members so they can bring their tech problems for their own business or their clients, whether it's choosing one software platform over another or how to migrate emails and Google Workspace, etc. So really built a great community, and it's just grown. And yeah, I'm blown away. I still don't know how it happened.
I would really love for you, just in a nutshell, to tell my listeners what exactly the VA Lead Network does, like how it works, and how it's helping women to access flexible, guilt-free work from home.
Sure. So we have a jobs board. Some of our members call it the SEEK for Australian Virtual Assistants and Managers. And the difference is that our jobs board, so paid membership to access the listings that we put on, and they're fully vetted. So it's also not an open canvas. When you're looking at the listing, we answer very, very specific questions. So we're making sure that we know how many hours are required if we can. Some clients actually need you to tell them how many hours you think you'll need, what their budget is, if there are any schedule requirements. So some clients actually need someone to do mornings 4 days a week, etc. We really drill down to exactly what they need and what they need help with immediately and what they'll need help with in the future, what their must-haves are in terms of your experience. Some clients will have time to train, and others will be like, I actually don't know how this is going to work. I need someone who can come in and tell me the best way to run my customer service desk or to, automate some marketing emails, etc. And because we provide so much detail, we call them lead reports, our listings on the jobs board. There's so much detail that whether or not you have the capacity and skills to do the job. It also paints a really good picture about the type of person or business they will be to have as a client, you can make a decision quickly that, when you're applying through other platforms, you really don't find out until you've gotten to the, first meeting or interview stage, whether or not you want to work with them. But I find that, even though we've got hundreds of members, we're seeing, for where we have the insights into applications, we're only seeing 10 to 30 people apply because our members are very clear about when they're available to work, what their boundaries are, what their niche is, the type of work they do want to do, the type of work they don't want to do. And because, it's built by VAs for VAs and we're detailed people as well, we ask all the questions. And when we're either speaking to a potential client who wants to list with us or they've submitted one and we're proofreading it first, we make sure that there's no ambiguity. So if we look at that and go, oh, well, Thought Penny wouldn't be able to put a proposal together for this because we don't know if this, help with accounts, does that mean that they need a bookkeeper or do they just need someone to help locate invoices or send invoices, bills to customers, etc.? Because there's also something a lot of business owners don't know, and I think there's not enough education on this, is that if you are an employee under the direction of your employer, you can lodge a BAS and help with payroll and do so many things that as soon as you become a contractor, you need to be a registered BAS agent to offer those services. And so from the VA side, we're educating VAs on what you can and can't do without being registered, but then also educating businesses to say, well, actually, there's a reason that bookkeepers are charging a premium rate for those specific services. And you need to be very specific about what you mean by, I need someone to help me with my accounts. And, that's the level of detail that we go into with those lead reports. So essentially, it's a jobs board with that level of detail. I probably went into too much detail on detail, but there's the jobs board. And essentially, you are applying directly. For the majority of these, you're sending a proposal directly. And every now and again, we will be engaged to assist a VA seeker with shortlisting applicants. Very rarely, though. I'd say, 97% of VA seekers are using our free listing service and you're applying directly to them. And we do not take a commission on earnings. You have a contract directly with that VA seeker. They are your client. We have no further involvement, though we do end up hearing back from VA seekers when they've realized this went really well. I want to grow my team even further. We also have plenty of our members growing their own teams as well. So virtual assistants and online business managers subcontracting either to help them with their client work so they can create a team like I did with Thought Penny, or we have some as well that do run larger teams and they're just getting assistance with their own business to help, keep that running so that they can concentrate on serving their clients, which is so wonderful. And, it's gotten to a point where we've had to build referral programs because so many people are sending leads our way. Members are sending VA seekers to list with us and referring other members to come and join. I thought, you guys need to be, I know you're doing this because you love the VA Lead Network, but you need to be rewarded because this is just such a beautiful, it's a true network where everyone's pitching in and helping each other and looking out for each other. And I think that's something about the Australian VA and OBM industry as well. It's not competitive, shark-infested waters. We've all got each other's back. We're here to support each other. Yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. And so
it's a beautiful industry.
Yeah, it really, really is. And so that's the main part of the Virtual Assistant Lead Network is that jobs board. So it's helping businesses to find Australian-based virtual assistants and managers. It's helping our members with vetted job opportunities. The other things that we're looking at there are making sure that there's a fair rate being included on our listings. So we will have an educational talk with businesses who don't realise that what they're proposing would end up paying the VA less than the minimum wage once you account for the overheads of running a business. And then, the other tiers of membership we have include access to that tech time that I spoke about, training webinars, and, the live webinars, as well as the library of every single webinar we've run. We've got all of those recordings in one place. Onboarding templates, checklists, agendas for bringing on new clients, and everything we've learnt running Thought Penny. Though it's funny, it's every time we've looked at something we've used it in the Thought Penny business, working as a remote team, we prepare it for the virtual assistant lead network. And then I have this, oh my gosh, we're going to be asking people to pay money to access this. It needs to be perfect. And I am a recovering perfectionist. So our members end up getting better resources to use than my Thought Penny team does. But it just all works really well. And I think it helps that because we're still actively operating as VAs, offering a variety of services, we have our finger on the pulse. We have a reason to be up to date on changes to tech. We can cry alongside you when the Instagram dimensions change and your year's worth of posts all need to be redone.
You're a very, very busy mum. You're obviously running 2 businesses, or at least 2 arms of your business. What's your 3-step system for running a business without chaos when you have so much going on and you're being a mum as well?
Sure. So my 3-step system is Streamline, Automate, Delegate. And it's in that order for a very important reason as well. So firstly, by Streamline, I mean eliminate the unnecessary, make your systems and processes efficient, and, really constantly review them. So it's not streamline once, it's always check back and say, can we do this? Is there a better way to do this? Are we doing steps that aren't actually needed? Are we recording data that never goes into a report or goes into a report that no one looks at? The next one is automate. And by that, I mean using technology to make things happen automatically instead of requiring manual labor. And an example of that would be when someone fills out a form on my website to download the Australian VA and OBM rates report, it's an automation is sending them the report, it's adding them to a mailing list, it is setting a task for a salesperson if they're a VA seeker, in 10 weeks' time after 10 emails have been sent and they haven't listed a role or taken any action, I've got someone who's going to pick up the phone and talk to them about listing a role for our members to apply for. And so that's Streamline and Automate, and then Delegate. So delegating either to an in-house person on your team or to, say, a virtual assistant. And we talked about this earlier, but VAs can have VAs as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's quite liberating. The important thing, though, for this 3-step process is it does need to be in that order, because you shouldn't be delegating anything that you can automate. And it's not just about not paying someone else to do something you can automate. Your time is money as well. So you're freeing yourself up to do things that can't be automated. And you shouldn't be automating anything you don't need. So automate first, streamline first, then automate, and then delegate. And, this only works if you're constantly reviewing that workflow as well. And a really good partner for that is once you do end up growing a team, the real success for me and that flexibility for myself and my team, because most of my team mums as well, and not one of them has set working hours. And it works because there's overlap with what we do. So there are so many tasks that we'll use Virtual Assistant Lead Network as an example. There are multiple people who know how to do different things in the business. And we have one Google Doc, we call it our compendium. It's also actually a resource that we've got for our members, this compendium template, but it's our Bible on how the business operates. So we've got procedures. We've also got links in our procedures with video run-throughs. So the first time someone steps in and joins the team, they'll be watching the video and learning it in detail. And the next time they'll just need a reminder, the written instructions on how to do something. And because how we came about that efficiently is whenever I or someone else in the team teaches someone else how to do something, we do that as a video call and we record that and then we save it in our Google Drive with a how to. And then the person who learned how to do that does the written procedure and links to the video as well. And then we're using Asana to keep track of what's on everyone's plate. And there are recurring tasks in there that have the procedure, in the task itself, not just in that Google Doc. So they'll link to that specific part in the Google Doc that has the written procedure, but also to the how-to video. So it's all interconnected, and we've built a culture where our team updates the compendium, updates procedures. We no longer do that step, or we do this instead because maybe the text changed. And it does take a while to get there, but once you build a culture where everyone truly understands the benefit of having those things updated, because, it might have been 3 months since I've used our social scheduling software, but it makes a world of difference if it's up to date, if someone on my team goes for a holiday for 2 weeks and I've just got to step in to cover them. So, yeah, I think culture is just as important. It's everyone truly owning and understanding and agreeing with the importance of keeping that documentation updated. But then on the other hand, those parents who are running a business and they are wearing all the hats, and it's important to know that what I'm not saying is you need to have everything documented before you build your team. Remember, it's when you're handing stuff over, you are doing that video recording and then get whoever you're delegating to, whether it's a VA or it's another consultant, etc., another get them to help build that version of your compendium. There are so many VAs that actually specialize in writing standard operating procedures and will be much faster at doing it than you will. And they'll probably pick up on things that you didn't realize were important. Yeah, it creates that flexible success because it's not relying on just one person. Anyone on my team can say, "Oh, I just found out that my kid's getting an award in assembly. I'm going to be gone for the next 2 hours." And it's not about asking permission. It's giving a heads up. And then knowing that, we're not saving babies. So we can drop everything and go and look after our own babies. And it's setting expectations with clients as well. So expectations with your clients about when you're going to get back to them. And then having the overlap with more than one person knowing how things are done. And then the documentation in case someone who's never done it before needs to jump in and help. Yeah, it all combines to make for a less overwhelming, low pressure environment where we still provide, quality output. Everyone gets looked after and everyone still loves what they're doing and don't hate waking up on a Monday.
Which is the dream, really, isn't it? To love your business and love what you're doing and love your clients. I love that you touched on boundaries because that's a really big thing in my business and in what I preach, shall we say. I would love to hear your thoughts, though, on other things that are really big for mums in business, like superannuation, avoiding burnout, the emotional realities. Do you want to touch on any of those ones, especially superannuation, actually, because I think that's really important for mums in business who are working for themselves, no longer getting super paid by an employer, to make sure that they're doing that. What are your thoughts around that whole topic?
Yes. So, let's focus on superannuation because this is pretty big. When you're a sole trader, well, no, let's start the other end. When you work as an employee, your employer is obligated to pay you super. And when you become a sole trader and you're working for yourself, there is no obligation to pay yourself super, which is so dangerous, especially if you're going from a corporate employee career to running your own business. And so many people start off as sole traders as well to go, "Oh, but if I don't pay myself super, I've got access to that money now." Whereas when you're an employee, you don't even think about that. It's just a non-negotiable. You don't even consider it as part of your income. A lot of people don't think of it as their money either. And so they don't notice that it disappears if you're not paying it to yourself once you go out as a sole trader. And it adds up. There's compounding interest. It's going to add up over time. And the longer you wait to start paying yourself super, the bigger that impact is going to be. And I think as well, leaning into that, it's not just super, but when you're going from an employee to running your own business, you shouldn't be charging what you were earning as an employee, because there are overheads of being a contractor. You need to make sure that you're not just earning the minimum wage, but also, casual employees get a casual loading because they don't have, the benefits of leave, etc., or all of the things that a permanent employee will get. So on top of the minimum wage, they get that casual loading. And then on top of that, they get the super guarantee. And then you've got to think about the fact that you're not getting paid for your time off. If you go and take time off over Christmas, you're not getting paid for that. And so you need to be charging more for the hours that you are working, or the services you're delivering, the products that you're selling. You need to be accounting for the time it takes you to deliver that to a client. And all of the time, you need to realize you're not getting paid for lunch breaks. You need to pay for your own insurance, your own computer equipment and furniture, your own software licenses, phone and internet account. You really do need to sit down and work out what all the costs are for delivering services or products to your customers and clients. A fair rate of pay is going to ensure that a contractor is not earning less than the minimum wage after accounting for all their overheads. But by the time that we're starting a business, we've left employment to run our own business, we're doing that because we have skills and experience behind us. And, people with skills and experience shouldn't be chasing the minimum wage. You should be charging on the value you deliver, not on the hours you work. And yeah, definitely the minimum wage isn't going to cut it. But so many people, not just women, settle for, that minimum wage when they're running their own business because they haven't accounted for all these overheads. And it's hard once you have an established client base to then go back and go, oh, I'm just going to double my prices because I've realized I'm earning less than the minimum wage with the way that I'm charging. People are going to balk at that. You've got to gradually increase your rates. So it's much easier to get it right at the beginning. It's easier to negotiate the rate that you're worth with a new client than it is. You might have an easy client that actually says yes straight away, and that's fine. But, personally, emotionally, it's harder to get ready to negotiate increasing with a client you already have. So I think getting those right at the beginning and not just charging based on what other people are. I mean, we do release the Australian VA and OBM rates report, but that's more to provide, insight into the industry and to help with benchmarking. But not once would I say, look at the rates report to decide what it is that you should be charging, because there are so many variables that come into that decision. And again, you should be charging based on the value that you bring, not on how many hours that you're working.
I actually was about to mention the VA rates report because I know the VA Lead Network does release it every year, and I personally found it quite beneficial to look at. Is there anything within the report that would be helpful, or anything you want to highlight for our listeners from the rates report, or where can they find it themselves if they want to get a copy and have a look at it?
Sure. So if you go to our website, valeadnetwork.com.au, then it will be in the main menu, rates out there, but also / rates report, I think works as well. But I'll give you the link to share there. So it's not just helpful because of showing the outcome of our evergreen survey. So we have a survey that's always open for Australian virtual assistants and managers to submit their rates for the different types of services they charge. And so for that, it helps both VA seekers and VAs to broaden their idea of what it is that a VA can help with. Because for so many, it's just general admin, but it's so much more than that. We've got executive assistant level, like what we're doing at Thought Penny, and then we have some people who are just doing minute taking, and others who will be marketing assistants or just do social media or customer service, virtual reception. And then, some will design lead nurture campaigns. So they'll help you design that, come up with that lead magnet, create the content for the lead magnet, build the website page where that lead magnet is downloaded from. And so every single a part of creating something like that, there are VAs that specialize in those different services.
I would love to know, what shifts would you love to see in the way that the world supports mums in business?
I definitely think that the way that a lot of VAs operate with being engaged to get work across the line instead of working set hours, I don't think that needs to be exclusively for virtual assistants or contractors. I do think that you can get paid to get the job done, not to work the hours. And of course, there are going to be, some positions where you need dedicated time. So, for example, reception, whether you're in an office or doing that from home. But again, do they need to be in the office? Some roles, yes. Others, no. But, we've proven through Thought Penny and our network of members, so I know there are so many people operating the way that Thought Penny does, is that you don't need to have, it may be a full-time need for the business. It doesn't mean that you need a full-time person. Job sharing can be so much more fluid, and it can be managed by a team, and it's easy to keep track of, who's doing what hours. My team manages amongst themselves who's going to be covering certain things at certain times, and it just works. And it builds a culture of, transparency. So it's not like we just go, I just work when I feel like it. We do communicate. We're responsive. Everyone knows who's going to be available and who's not, etc. It doesn't have to be just something for that remote culture or contractors. There can be that flexibility within a workplace as well. And the key there is to have a team that you can trust. You don't need to micromanage. It's understanding that, when you're paying someone more for their output, then you're able to delegate responsibility instead of spoon feeding tasks, and they can manage their own workload. They can manage themselves together as a team. So yeah, definitely. I just think that the call for everyone to return back to work or to work set hours, it's just not necessary. And I think that you need to revisit what your clients' or customers' expectations are. If someone does send an email request at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday, do they absolutely need a reply on that Wednesday, or can we manage their expectations? Can they be told that, hey, these are our turnaround times, but if it's absolutely critical and urgent and can't wait, then call this number.
And it's a really thought-provoking piece that, like, we have proven in the virtual industry that it can be done that way. So why can't it be elsewhere and, implemented elsewhere? And I'm really interested to see how that evolves and changes over the next, decade or so. I'm very interested in watching that space.
Yeah.
I love to end on this question. So what would you say to a mum who has admin or marketing or tech skills, wants to start their own business, but just doesn't know how to start, where to start, what to do? What would be your one piece of advice?
So my advice for those type of skills, definitely look into becoming a virtual assistant or manager. But also that is very general still. So I would take another step and really think about, out of all of those things that you can do, what do you enjoy doing the most? And one way to think about this is think about where you've been working on something and, you might have been tired, but suddenly once you really get into the weeds of this type of work, it energizes you and you feel like you could work through the night doing it because you're genuinely enjoying it. You're getting something out of it. That's what you should be looking at, and then working out how you can position that in a way that it addresses the pain points and needs of your potential client. Think about who that potential client will be, because importantly, you're going to want to sell yourself as solving a problem, not offering a service. So it's not that I automate an email sequence. What I do is I reduce manual labor and errors in your marketing. Think about the things that your ideal client is struggling with and make sure there's an overlap with what people need help with and what you enjoy doing. And, test your market. Go out into Facebook groups. Go and ask, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Is this something that anyone would be interested? Or what is it, what is it about this part of your business that you struggle with the most, so that you know how to position that thing that you love doing? And of course, it'd be silly of me to speak to you today and not talk about the Virtual Assistant Lead Network's free resources. So if you have all those skills and you think, this sounds right up my alley, we've got not just the rates report that's free, and that has an index of all the different things that we know that virtual assistants and managers are doing for their clients. A startup checklist on how to become a virtual assistant, get yourself up. It goes into the nitty gritty of applying for an ABN and choosing your services, etc. And we also have a directory of local communities, because it can be lonely when you're working from home. And so we're building that at the moment. It's pretty new. So also, if you're listening and you do have a local group for virtual assistants in your area, there's a form on that page as well to submit your group so that others can find you. And so, a plethora of other free resources as well to help you get started.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today, Fiona. I've really loved having this chat about you, being it's an industry that I'm very well associated with, and I absolutely love the VA Lead Network. So I've so appreciated having this chat with you today. Before we finalize things out, if anyone who is listening wants to connect with you, do you want to drop your social links, website links, anything you want to drop in now if people want to connect with you further?
Sure thing. So Virtual Assistant Lead Network website is valeadnetwork.com.au. And I would love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So my LinkedIn tag is Fee Campbell, FICAMPBELL. But if you search for Virtual Assistant Lead Network on LinkedIn as well, you'll probably find me that way.
And I can drop those links into the show notes for anyone as well. So you'll be able to connect in with Fiona there. Once again, thank you so much, Fiona. This has been such a lovely chat.
Oh, I was so happy when I found out I was coming on. Thanks so much, Sarah.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining me on Coffee, Clients and Naptime. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mum who's ready to build their dream life. You can also join our Facebook page or Instagram to stay connected every day of the week. The link is in the show notes. Just remember, you've got this, and I'm here to help every step of the way.